Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's go.
Round one, fight.
Thank you for tuning in to the Crypto Street Podcast. Here are your hosts, Killer Whale, Prince, and Crypto Dale.
And remember to tip your waitress.
Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Crypto Street Podcast. I believe this is Noob 606, where we bring in a relatively new person into the space, ask them a little bit about how they got involved. They ask us some good questions. Unfortunately, this time, it's just your boy, just Killer. Prince and Dale could not join me today. Miss them dearly, though. It feels very weird doing this myself. I think this is the first time ever that we've actually done solo. But anyway, we got a good guest on our hands, so I'm excited about this episode. I think y'all are going to enjoy it just as much as you usually do. And if you don't take it out on me. But anyway, our guest today is, I think, Bunchu.
Yep.
Do I say?
That's right.
Okay. Gotcha. So tell everybody your Twitter handle exactly.
Yeah, so it's at Bunchu Bets, BUNCHU Bets. And before my Twitter handle was a crypto handle, it was a sports handle. So that's kind of where the bets comes from.
All right, cool. Glad everybody knows that. As usual, the first thing we always like to do with every guest, even our quote unquote noob guests, is ask them a little bit about their history, how they got into crypto. That way the audience has some good perspective for everything we're going to talk about from here on out. So Bunchu, how did you get into crypto? What's your story, man?
Yeah, I have been in crypto for about a little over a year. I probably got in last April or so. I think I purchased my first Bitcoin at around 1,700. As we all know, you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. So I did that because I kind of found it on accident. So I think I've heard a couple people have this same kind of story where I'm a big sports fan, and with my big sports fanness comes my gambling habit. So I actually was using a sports book, and they accepted Bitcoin. So I made myself a Coinbase account and got myself some Bitcoin, deposited it. I actually won a bet that day. So I then promptly cashed it out, put it in my Coinbase, and Bitcoin, went to, 2,200 or something that next week. And I'm like, oh man, this is a nice little strategy. So I kept doing the same thing. And then, I didn't know anything about Bitcoin or, crypto at all. But as I was, as I was using Coinbase and stuff, then, you get to the tab where it's like, what's ETH? What is that? Or, what's LTC? Oh, that one's so much cheaper. Maybe I'll buy some of that. And that's kind of how I got started in it. And then, I started learning more about it, and you just become obsessed. And I have been pretty much eating, sleeping, breathing crypto in some form or another for the past year. Then I started getting into it and learning it and really trying to, then I, found all these altcoins and stuff, but I didn't really have anywhere to, talk to people or anything like that. And I really didn't even find crypto Twitter until probably October of this past year. So I went like 6 months kind of in the dark on my own, just finding stuff, buying it, not really even having anyone to talk to about it. Then you find crypto Twitter. And if you thought you were in a black hole before, it's triple then. So then after that, I found Telegram, which, and then I, shout out you guys, I joined the baby pod, and I was in the baby pod for a while, and I eventually got called up to the big leagues pod, and just been kind of, working a bunch of, different avenues to network and things like that. Now at this point, I'm really trying to create some content on my own. And I've been writing for Whale Reports. So shout out you guys there too with Whale Reports. So I've been doing some contributing there. And, like I said, now I'm just eating, sleeping, breathing it. So
it's funny you mentioned gambling and getting into crypto, and we sound like broken records, but like, I can't tell you how many of our guests came from some kind of, whether it be poker, sports gambling, something like that, online casino games. And it just is such a common occurrence.
It's funny, man. It's either that or the other thing. All your guests say is they found Doge.
Yes,
and so
exactly.
it's either it's either gambling or Doge. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and when they found Doge, like all of them seem to have mined Doge as well. And with Doge's price, I can imagine in the early days you're probably getting like 4 million Doge per day or something.
That would be sweet.
Yeah,
I'll take 4 million of anything, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So when you got into Twitter, like, were you on Twitter already? Because this is like interesting to me because I had like a regular Twitter account. I just followed like some finance people, investing in sports and stuff like that. And then I think I got into crypto and I started following a couple of crypto people on Twitter, which led me to like everyone else on crypto Twitter. Like, how did this kind of develop for you?
That's how it worked for me too. It's funny. I've had this handle, Bunch You Bets, since probably 2011 or something. And I only followed, so I have two accounts. I had like a personal account, which I would, tweet about whatever and crappy reality television shows or whatever the hell I was watching. And then I had my sports account where I could, kind of target and follow people in sports, try to get some news and things like that. And so I had that account forever. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to use my real account or my personal account on my doxed account, I guess, for crypto Twitter. So I'll just transform this one that I have now. And so I, slowly was weeding out some of the sports people I followed and adding, I don't even remember who the first crypto person I followed was, but it actually, it's funny. It was right when like everybody started getting major follower pumps. I think one of the first people I followed was maybe like Luke Martin, I think. And then he had a ton of followers, so it just goes down and, you start following everybody and then you become into this black hole of crypto Twitter.
Have you found now that like that account is exclusively crypto Twitter, basically?
Oh yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah.
It's basically, I hardly follow any of my sports people anymore, and I'm exclusively following crypto people. So that's my crypto Twitter account.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me. Like I had my personal account, and then I had my crypto account, quote unquote. And one of the weird parts for me was like the crypto account, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go on this account to make tweets and everything, but I don't want to read all this like crypto Twitter, yada, yada. Who cares? Like I'm just going to try to get a following. And then I go on my regular account to actually view tweets. And now I'm 100% my crypto Twitter account,
Yeah.
It's like the universe just draws you in. It has this like addictive pull that's really incredible. It's just, I think part of it is like, just how complex it is. There's so much to learn. And like, let's say you just want to pick the programming side. Like, okay, within that, you just want to learn Python, for example. It's like that in and of itself is quite an endeavor. And that's one single programming language. And then you got to learn about blockchains and how they work. And then you have to learn about zero knowledge proofs, and how they work. And it's just, that's just programming. We haven't even talked about game theory, economics, economic theory, incentive theory, basically making these big, beautiful machines that work together because people are incentivized to do certain things. And I think that's, again, what makes it so addicting is like, you can't hope to learn a fraction of this stuff within even a couple of years, really.
Well, then don't forget the shit posting.
Yeah,
that's a whole.
The memes.
Yep, that's a whole level in itself. You you spend hours.
Like come for
and
the
hours
advice,
and
stay
hours.
for the memes, or something.
Yeah, you can just spend hours, and it's like I need to find. I'm with you. I need to find time to get away from it more than not. You know what I mean?
It's hard, man. It's like I feel like I both need time away from it and more time for it as well. Like,
oh yeah.
Sometimes I feel so sick of like constantly keeping up with something, whether it be Telegram or work or whatever it may be, And then sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I had more free time to just browse to crypto Twitter or just read about crypto online,
Well, even the craziest part. So I was just in Chicago for a work trip and, it was like a national sales meeting conference. So you have your whole day planned out for you pretty much by the minute. And I was pretty much, inactive for the whole week. And I got back and I'm like, what did I miss? I'm like, I feel like I've missed a year. It's crazy. And that's just how fast everything moves. And two, just how much, like you said, how much information there is.
Yeah. I always like to ask our guests this. What has changed since you joined? So we'll say that you got in like seriously maybe 10-ish months ago, 8 months ago?
Yeah, I would say that. So what's changed since I have joined? I think the craziest thing was seeing what it was like when I joined, as far as the hype and the FOMO, if you will, from when I joined to like December and January, and it was just so. I think, my answer to that would be the acceptance and attitude towards the whole space. So like when I first got in, it still felt really, and it was this whole new world for me, but it still felt very small. And now, even though it is still small, it feels like so many more people are involved. Like you hear people in a coffee shop talking about Bitcoin, and that didn't happen when I got in, even though it's only been 10 months, but still, that's probably one of the biggest things. And then I think the paradigm shift also, when I first got in, ICOs were like frowned upon as like the worst thing ever. And everybody thought every single one of them was a scam. And I think just a paradigm shift of now everybody's doing an ICO, and the whole attitude towards that space has changed a little bit as well.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think the legitimacy thing is like very crazy as well, because that's something, that we've asked a ton of different guests is like, what's the difference between when you first joined and now? And a lot of these people joined, granted, in like 2013, 2014, like quite some time ago. So I can't even imagine how rogue and sort of like different and weird this felt to them. Because like you said, even when you joined like 8 or 10 months ago, and when I joined maybe, 2 years ago or so, it felt like something just completely ridiculous. Like this is a scam. This is crazy. Like this stuff's kind of fun. You can make some money, but it's garbage. It's like bullshit or whatever. But
yeah, I have a good story on that. So it's like when I first started, right? I was all about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm learning as much as I can about Bitcoin. And we all like trust our father's opinion. So, and my dad, he's a very successful guy, and so I asked him, hey, have you ever heard of Bitcoin? And he's telling me, it's a scam. It's not backed by anything, blah, 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 this, that stuff. And and he basically called me an idiot. And so about, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, he calls me up and he's like, hey, I just had lunch with this guy, and he was talking to me about blockchain. And he was saying the exact same stuff you were saying. And I'm like, yeah, I told you so. And so he owns multiple cryptocurrencies, and he's has a part in our little mining business that we do. And so I think
the whale.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So, but like, that's kind of what I mean by just like this paradigm shift and stuff like that.
It's funny that you said that he said it's not backed by anything, because that's the thing I always hear from anybody, whether it be my uncle or, a friend or like an older family member or just my aunt or anybody who like is kind of a little bit out of the loop with technology. It's not backed by anything. It's not backed by anything. It's like, yeah, okay, true, technically, but let's take a look at a lot of other things that are technically not backed by anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of stuff. Look at the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally a piece of cotton paper,
right?
And I guess technically it's backed by the threat of the US government to enforce certain actions upon you, if you involve the US dollar, but it's still not like completely tangible. And like that's an intangible thing to a certain degree, is, a government intervention. It can be tangible, I guess, if you're locked up in a jail cell, but it's just like, it's such an interesting thing, because on the surface level, you hear somebody go, it's not backed by anything. And it seems like, oh, yeah,
that's a good argument.
Right. Like, there's nothing in a vault like securing this.
Right.
But if you really take like a deeper dive and you're like, how much is anything really backed by anything? Let's just look at language. Like, words have meanings because we've decided they mean certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely arbitrary. We make these systems in our head, and they become our reality and our staple, because we all collectively over time, over hundreds of years, agree that certain things are the way they are.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing for him too was understanding the value behind what blockchain is. You know what I mean? And so like, I think that's part of one of the hardest things to really recognize when you're new or when you've never heard of it before. It's not just this digital. I mean, it is a digital currency, but it's that what makes it what it is behind it that a lot of people. I mean, I've been here 10 months and I can tell you what blockchain is, but to really, really, really understand it is hard. And so I think that's part of the whole thing that changes somebody's attitude from it's not backed by anything to okay, this has some value.
You know what a good example of that is? I think like let's take October, November, December of last year. Okay. These are prime holiday months where a lot of new people were going to their Thanksgiving dinner and talking with their nephews and sons and grandsons, and they're going, oh, blockchain, Bitcoin. And that was the first time these people had ever heard about any of this stuff. Okay, let's just look at, let's say October, November, December. Okay, so all of those people probably got involved in some way, at that point, back at the end of 2017. But how much do they really know about blockchain and crypto, and how much do they really buy into it? Right now, probably not much. I mean, I'm sure a certain portion of those who are more technically adept and more apt to reading stuff online and stuff are kind of further along in that acceptance process that this is not going away. But that's going to take all of those people who got introduced to it a long time until now, till they really become like true converts, I would say.
Well, I think you're starting to see that on Twitter too. It's like all these people came into the space and into Twitter and in that time, and I see tweets every day like, where'd everybody go? I think I made a tweet like that this morning, and it's like because it really speaks to, okay, it takes a lot to understand why you really want to be in this space, because obviously, as we can see from the way the market is today and how it's been the last couple of months, is it doesn't always go up, and they got in when it did always go up. So, it takes a lot for somebody to want to stick around and be here and actually know what they're getting themselves into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, dude. Let's jump into these questions a little bit. So you've written up, I believe, 8 to 10 questions to ask moi, yours truly. It was going to be everybody, but sorry, everyone. It's just me. So you got to deal with my opinions for now. But let's get going on these questions.
Yeah, man. So the one I've actually listened to every single episode of this podcast. And the one thing you ask everybody is, how did you get started? And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I've listened to every episode. I'm not sure I know how they really, truly got started. So that was my first question to you.
So I don't know if I can answer this for Prince and Dale. I think if they said it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember. That's how you got involved. But I don't know. But for me, I guess let's backtrack to the early part of 2016. I think it was 2016. Yeah. Okay, yeah, 2016 for sure. So I was making, for lack of a better expression, an online purchase, which you may or may have not, or may not have needed Bitcoin to do. And so I made this online purchase. I bought a little Bitcoin. I put it in my Coinbase account, and I forgot about it. This was, say, February of 2016, maybe, somewhere around there. So fast forward to, I want to say July-ish of 2016, that same year. So let's say about 6 months later, 5 months later. I was reading an article online on Bloomberg about Monero and how Monero was this new Bitcoin type coin, and it was going to be the next big thing. And at that point, I had heard of Bitcoin, but I didn't really know much else because I had bought it, a few months prior to enable a transaction. Mm-hmm. So I read about this article on Bloomberg about Monero, and I go, oh, I still have this Coinbase app on my phone. Let me look at that and just see what this Bitcoin I have has done. And I think at that point, it had roughly doubled. And so, in traditional investments, you're lucky to make 10% per year.
Yeah.
So I took a look at this. I was like, I bought this thing 6 months ago, and it's doubled, a 100% return in price. And so I'm thinking, maybe this is something.
Well,
I did a little bit more reading. I read about the bubble in 2013, read about how it had recovered since then. And I'm thinking, okay, so this has been an actual thing for, at that point, 4 or 5 years. And if it's been around that long, it's probably not going completely away anytime soon, because it would have gone completely away within that time frame if it was going to.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, the all-time high is like 1,300. Right now it's at, I think at that point it was at like $600 or something. I'm probably completely off on that, and somebody will check me on it. But all I know is it had doubled. So I log on to Poloniex, which is where I saw you could trade this new one, Monero, and just started trading Monero. So I'll never forget the first night. It was a Friday night where I made my Poloniex account. I just got home from work. It was a Friday night. I funded my account and I bought a whole bunch of Monero because I'm like, okay, well, momentum is a strategy in actual investing, so maybe it's a thing in this sort of quote unquote fake investing too. And I bought a bunch on margin, which everybody says don't do, but I did it anyway because I was like, screw it. Like I have no money. I'm putting it all in this Monero thing. And you guys are probably like saying to yourselves, yeah, no wonder you're such a Monero homer. Well, yeah, it was like it popped my cherry into crypto. So yeah.
That's pretty
anyway,
funny.
so I traded Monero like that whole weekend, got like zero sleep, but I just remember like green 5-minute candle after green 5-minute candle on Poloniex. So I was like, this is the ultimate rush. Making so much money. And
Fast
so
forward to BitMEX.
basically Monero introduced me to it. Yeah.
Fast forward to BitMEX, 100 times leverage.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm using way too much leverage.
That's funny, man. It's a good story. So going on to your trading and stuff like that. So what's the best trading advice, or investment advice you've ever gotten?
So I think a lot of people are gonna like not like this, but I think the best trading advice is don't trade too much because I think almost everybody trades a little bit too much because in general, everyone thinks they're special relative to other people. This is a fact of human psychology. Almost everybody thinks of themselves as above average, okay? Where that average is, I don't know, but almost everyone considers themselves above average. So what this leads to is a lot of overconfidence in trading. Almost everyone thinks they're an above average trader. So you can have no financial background, no Forex background, have never dealt with a security in your life, but almost everybody's going to think, well, yeah, but I mean, come on, look at me. Like I'm good at this.
Described me.
Of course.
You just described me.
It's true though. Like everybody does. So I think the single best piece of advice is don't trade too much because you're going to blow yourself up eventually. Yeah. And it's something like I struggle with. Like I've known this in my head for like 2 years at least. And I still open up positions on BitMEX when I'm not certain of the direction. I did it fucking like 2 weeks ago. Like Bitcoin hit like 75 and I'm like, oh, we're going back to 10, 100%. So I opened a big ass leverage play on MEX and absolutely got liquidated like a few days ago. So it happens, and it's like, it's hard because it's something that even if you're aware of, you might not even do, or you might not abide by.
Until you lose and then you're like, damn, I knew I shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Yeah. And I've gotten like better at it, but it's still bad.
I had the same problem when I started. It was, I wanted to trade 1 minute candles and 5 minute candles and 15-minute candles. And it was just too much. And I think now I'm to the point where, I realized I'm also not the world's greatest trader. So I'm taking maybe 1 or 2 positions a month, maybe, as far as just like straight up trading. Obviously, we all hold some bags and stuff like that. But as far as trading goes, I'm trading on much larger time frames now, just because honestly, it's less anxiety. If you think if you're confident you're in the right position on a longer time frame, you can kind of walk away from it for a little bit. You know what I mean? And you got an idea of where it's going to go, hopefully. So I don't have to sit there and pull my hair out over a minute candle.
It's just less work.
Yeah.
In general, also, it's less time glued to your computer screen going, oh my God, what's this next tick going to do? It's like,
I hear you. So then just kind of leading right through that is, obviously we're in a big downtrend bear market. How does your strategy change, between bull market, bear market, or just kind of like, or has your strategy changed in the last year, and kind of where do you see it going forward?
Yeah, I would say in a couple ways. So the first of which is when there was a clear uptrend, like I knew that momentum is a quantifiable thing in investing. So I was way more open to opening margin positions, which kind of goes back to the whole don't overtrade thing. Mm-hmm. But if you do know, then yes, overtrade and take on a lot of leverage. So when we were in a clear bull trend, I was taking more open positions and I was, in a sense, kind of doing less with them because I was letting them ride a little bit. But in like a bear trend, I think I try to do less in general just because I don't know when this stops. And,
right.
It could be $2,000 Bitcoin. It could be $5,500 Bitcoin. I don't know. But until I know, and the thing is, I'm not going to catch the exact bottom either, It's going to hit a bottom and then it's going to bounce and then it's going to have to bounce enough for me to go, okay, I'm back in. The second way I would say it's changed is a lot more now. I'm looking at passive income options like masternodes, mining, things like that. Whereas before, it's like you get caught up in this bull euphoria and you're like, oh, screw it. I don't need that shit. Like, I'm going to buy $1 million worth of Ripple or like, $1,000 worth of Ripple and it's going to be worth $1 million in 6 months because that's what it's been doing. It's like,
right.
And that kind of thinking like takes you over a little bit when you're feeling euphoric like that. So I'd say it's just more practical in general, where I'm not chasing these humongous pumps and just kind of trying to figure out how I can make money if I don't trade for shit, which I haven't been lately. So
now, do you see yourself, kind of keeping that strategy for the rest of the year as things move out? I mean, I guess do you see this kind of trend continuing, things like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I hate to like be a Debbie Downer like this because like I always want to be an optimist, and I think in general I am, but I gotta think we either bleed out for like another few months minimum, if not like, let's say we bleed out for like 6 months. I think that's very possible right now. And I think it's very possible we could bleed out for more than 6 months as well. The thing is, nobody knows. I mean, if we follow the trajectory of like the 2013 bubble, when that popped in November of 2013, then yeah, we're going lower, everybody. It sucks. But if we follow that trajectory, we're probably going down to, at the lowest, maybe like 2,000, maybe 3,000, but we're heading pretty low. Like, and that's like a 50% haircut from here. And we already feel battered and bruised and all that. So that, I mean, I haven't really seen capitulation exactly. I mean, volume has been dropping on Bitcoin trading. And so in a sense, people are getting less bearish, but there are also some really important support lines to look at. I think namely at about 6,200 and 6,000.
Yeah.
And so if we break those, then the volume could very well go up again and lead to this capitulation event where we go, okay, that's the bottom. And I don't think we've really seen something like that yet. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. So yeah, this is definitely stuff I think I'm going to keep in mind going forward, because the thing I like about a masternode or mining as well is if you're getting that income, it's like having successful trades, in the sense that you can not only book that profit, but then invest it into things at lower values. And so it's almost like a double win because you're getting money and then you're putting that money into things that in theory should go up quite a bit in the next 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, I'm with you there. I'm into mining. When we were doing really well, we cashed some stuff out and decided, hey, we were going to buy a bunch of GPUs. So me and my dad and my brother, my dad is now in mining, and another guy, we bought, we have 50 something GPUs running in his garage. So it's he got in trouble with his homeowners association though. But so I'm totally with you with the mining thing. It's also an interesting way to build a bag too, which is pretty attractive to a lot of people also. And then I haven't gotten into masternodes yet, mostly because I don't really know what I'm doing yet. So, but El Crypto Chapo just wrote a good masternodes piece for Whale Reports that I've started to dive into. So I'm getting there.
Dude, so I've had zero as well, and that's the exact thing that has stopped me from getting involved in it. Is it seems very complicated, but I've found one, and I'm not going to say it because everybody going to buy it, and it's going to get too much. But I found one that's like extremely easy to set up, and like the focus of the coin itself is to kind of make masternodes easier.
Oh, there you
go. Surely people know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say it because you know why? Actually, quick tangent, because my fucking deposit on CryptoBridge has been stuck for 5 days now, and I cannot get my money on there to buy this shit. So I'm getting very, very exasperated, I guess is a good word. I've been frequenting the CryptoBridge help chat with no avail. So I'm getting quite cross with them. CryptoBridge, figure it out. I don't know how you performed before, but 5 days for a deposit or 6 days, give me a fucking break.
That's like a bank.
Yes, bro. And the price of this thing is skyrocketing ever since I sent this deposit, and I've been waiting for it. This shit's up like 30%.
5 days, you might as well use a bank, Isn't that what we're all here for?
And the thing, Crypto Bridge is not going to give me a refund or anybody, and they probably shouldn't. But still, it's like, bro, I'm trying to buy this.
That's funny.
Let's get this shit on there. Let's give me my deposit, make my purchase, give my master note.
Funny, man. So how about new advice to new people that may have gotten into the space in the last 6 months as far as bear market goes? Because I mean, for me, I've been here a year, and the price a year ago, I'm still ahead. But some of these people, I feel for that bought at 17, 20, 15, all, so, and they're sitting here with heavy bags. So any advice on either how to protect themselves in a bear market going forward, or, like I think you touched on how to make money in a bear market, was that passive income. I think that's really good advice. How about protect yourself in general?
I like this question a lot. I think this is very interesting for a number of reasons. I think if you're one of those people who falls into that category where you got invested, let's say like 10 months ago or similar to when you did Bunchu, there is a good feature or aspect of that. And the thing is, you're getting kind of baptized in crypto at a time where everything is really hard. Trading is hard. Mining, everything. In addition to crypto just being complex as fuck, you're in a really tough environment, because when it's a bull market, anybody can buy anything and they feel like a genius. And I cannot tell you guys how many people we've had on the show who are like regarded as some of the best traders in crypto. So many of them bought their first coin ever at like $1,300
at what
Bitcoin,
the time was the
Bitcoin.
top. Yeah,
they bought the exact top.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And they got baptized in this fire, which was a 2-year bear market. And so the other thing I would say is, you very well may be in the middle of that. And I know you've had a hellacious 7 or 8 months, starting in crypto, but this could double, and it could get worse to where you're just like, you want to stab your eyeballs out because it's so boring, or you're just losing money day after day and you're so unenthused about everything. So I would say just use it as a learning experience. And, 2 years down the road, when everything does recover, you want to be a Sicarius, and one of those people. I named Sicarius because he's the one that really sticks out in my mind as like one of the better traders on crypto Twitter. And I know for a fact, or I'm pretty sure, that he got involved right at the top. And there are so many people who that's true of that we've interviewed. But, you want to make sure you're going to be a him versus somebody who sold everything and is out of the game entirely. So take it, learn from it. I would say the one thing is, don't get completely wrecked, because it's going to happen to some people. These markets suck right now, and they could suck to the tune of another 50% haircut. It's very possible.
Yeah.
But, use that as a learning experience, really dive in head first, and make sure that when it does go up again, which it will, everybody, it's not going away at this point. So just make sure you're there and you're surviving for the next bull run. That's something, I think it was Amber said as well. Yeah. So just keep in mind. Yeah. Make sure you survive.
Yeah. And then going along to that, portfolio management, does that change when you're bear versus bull? Obviously, bull market, you probably want to have as many positions open as possible. But, how many positions or bags do you typically hold? What's your strategy there?
That has not changed too much. Like, sometimes I'll find myself adding a little bit of random coins, and I hit a point where I'm like, okay, I have too many positions, just because I really believe that over diversification is actually a problem.
I would agree with that.
This
100%.
is something, yeah, and this is something I actually should have touched on in the answer to the last question was, when everything goes down, everything goes down. Like, your correlations go to 1. Almost no matter what you buy, it's going to absorb any good news and just keep on dropping. And it sucks, but that's how crypto is. So if Bitcoin's going down at this point, pretty much everything's going down. So with that in mind, it's not crazy important which projects you're in right now, I don't think. I really think you just want to make sure that you're building strong positions in coins that will do well and that have some kind of staying power during the next bull run. So my sizing has not changed. I think on average, I probably have like 10 to 12 positions in total. And sometimes I wish that was less. And sometimes I really think that could be less. But it could be more at the same time. But I really think I'd like to find like 8 through 10 really, really strong ones and just kind of focus on those.
It's hard because, there's a lot of really, there's a lot of really good projects out there and there's a lot of really bad ones. So it's like, all right, when you find the really good ones, you want to own them, but then it becomes really hard to manage all those positions. I know when I started, I was like, "Ooh, I'll buy this. Ooh, I'll buy this. Oh my gosh, that looks cool." And then, as the like bear market started to come, I'm like, okay, well now I'm either close to where I started at for these positions, or I'm still in profit. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to take my profits where I have them, and then either, and I just decreased my holdings, like the number of coins I held, by like half. And so right now I'm probably in maybe 6 total, plus, whatever I just do trading wise as far as trading positions go. But that's what I found. I was like, I can't manage all of this. It's easy to manage when it's all going up because it's all going up. You know what I mean?
What's funny though? You bring up like an interesting point. So like I've always been like a less is more person with crypto, where it's like just choose your strongest positions. But at the same time, like I think of somebody like Coin, where he's literally got like hundreds of bags. And like he does pretty well too. And the thing is, if correlations go to 1, either when it's going down or up,
then you're in good shape either way.
Maybe it doesn't matter, right? Like maybe it doesn't matter if you have 5 bags or 500.
I guess it matters when you got them.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing, people who like overcomplicate things as well. And maybe this is an example of that, where we're just full of shit, and we don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter if you have, like I said, like 5 or 500. Right. Maybe you just have to be in the right space at the right time.
I think that's a good point with the correlation too. It's, it's funny. I think I saw Bully tweet that he remembers when they were inversely correlated, and now it's not like that anymore. That's one of the other big things that changed for me versus when I started. It was like Bitcoin goes up, alts go down, and you're like panicking and people are selling. And it seems to be much more correlated now. What's the most embarrassing bag you've ever held? And I wrote in this question, Tezos not included.
That's so hard because like Tezos, I could talk about for a half hour, but and I probably will bring it up at some point, just because there have been some new developments with this KYC, everything.
Yeah, how's that going? Did you do it? I saw it forked too,
bro. Well, yeah. Okay, so Tezos, the community is so displeased with how everything has gone yet. And keep in mind, it hasn't even launched yet, right?
It's crazy.
But despite there even being no source code that's publicly available yet, there are probably like 4 to 5 forks of Tezos. Okay, so like they're forking something that isn't even forkable, just because everyone is so distraught. Like so
disgruntled.
Like I think I might start my own fork here eventually one day. But so Tezos is like, they say they're gonna launch by Q2. I think it was Q2 of 2018. So right what we're in right now. And they have about 3 weeks to meet this deadline. And we still don't have an exact date. So we know they have about 2 to 3 weeks until the deadline is up, but we have no exact date yet. And then the latest development, which we should definitely talk about a little bit because people are up in arms about it, is I think a few days back, the Tezos Foundation came out. Or actually, it's a more interesting story than that. So somebody was browsing the Tezos website, and they noticed that some piece of code that was like in kind of waiting to be implemented on the website, and I don't know how people do this, but they noticed that some piece of code was a KYC or Know Your Customer program for basically getting identifying details on the contributors, which nobody had to do back during the ICO in mid-2017. So people are like rampant, speculation starts on Reddit. They're like, hey, I noticed this source code. Are we going to have to do KYC? And so many people on the forums were like, hey, chill out. We don't know anything for sure yet. And granted, they were right at that point. Mm-hmm. But fast forward like a day or two later, and the Tezos website actually implements this KYC. So in order to claim your tokens, which you invested BTC or ETH in, again, a year ago, and had nothing about this, they go, you have to do this KYC, which is identify yourself, give us your address, give us your phone, give us your passport, your ID, whatever that may be to identify yourself. So
do you already have your tokens?
No, nobody has tokens yet. And that's the thing. They're saying in order to get those.
Oh, so they're holding them hostage essentially. Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Crazy.
And so the terms have changed. And keep in mind, this was a platform that was supposed to be launched either within 2 to 4 months or at maximum 6 months. And that was what the lead developers told the ICO participants at the time of contribution. So all of these people are contributing thinking, okay, worst case scenario, I'll have my shit in 6 months. 6 months would have been about December or January of this past year. So
that would have been a nice time to launch for you.
yeah, exactly. At the peak of the bull market. So now
Yeah.
we fast forward to, it's June right now. So we're a good 6 months prior or post that 6 month maximum estimate. And people still don't have tokens. And so not only has the delay basically resulted in a holding period that was about double what everybody thought, but now at the very end here, you get slapped with KYC. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that this may be something they need to do to not get in further legal trouble. They already have class action lawsuits open against them for the
Right.
delays, things like that, etc. But at the same time, it's another slap to the face of all the contributors who have already been slapped in the face a million times over the past 12 months. And so, I mean, I got to reiterate this, everybody. Nobody who invested in Tezos has said any tokens. So it's not like you could sell and like be gone and be
Right.
like, you know what? I don't like this, but I'm going to go buy Ripple, because I like Ripple better or whatever, or Bitcoin. You can't do anything because nobody has any tokens. They are not tradable. We don't have possession of them. And so you cannot do a fucking thing.
That's wild.
And yeah, and then they slap this on. So you know what? This turned into like a longer answer. And I know you said no Tezos, but
No,
I gotta
that's
go
okay.
Tezos. It's
I
been
know this
the
is
most
going to count.
disappointing project. Yeah. I literally think everything about this has been run poorly. There's been zero communication. Another thing I want to add is on the Tezos Reddit and also in the Tezos Riot chat, there is a lot of censorship. A lot to where, and I'm not like a very paranoid person, but it makes me wonder if something is going on where the foundation is funding people to take one side of the equation, the pro Tezos equation.
Mhm.
Like you can't say anything negative about Tezos in the Tezos Reddit or the Riot chat without getting either deleted, banned, what have you. It's a very strange environment right now. And I mean, I think a lot of this will go by the wayside if we can actually get the fucking tokens in peace and like dump everything, or at least have some liquidity. But right now, it's a very strange environment.
Are you going to dump all yours or what?
You know what? I'll probably keep some, but I definitely am going to dump some, I think. Like, I don't know how much that is, but a sizable amount, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough spot, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got you triggered on Tezos, though.
Damn it, I started ranting again.
That was pretty good. Next question is, going forward, next year, 2020, what kind of things are you keeping your eye on as far as types of projects, platforms, privacy, utility, security tokens? What do you think is going to kind of lead the way and why?
Okay, so I would say 4 different types of tokens. Security tokens, decentralized exchanges, privacy coins, and Oracle coins. So to recap that really quickly, security tokens, Oracle coins, privacy coins, decentralized exchanges. I'll give you like a quick kind of tidbit on why all will be important, I think. So decentralized exchanges, for obvious reasons, it gives you a way to transact that's fairly anonymous, which almost none of these big centralized exchanges have anymore. And that's very important to people within crypto is they want to be anonymous, they want to be autonomous, they want to keep their information private for the most part. So as we see good decentralized exchange solutions, I think that'll be very important. Privacy, very similar reason. I think that's one of the biggest use cases of crypto. I think privacy coins are at minimum a $15 to $20 trillion market. And so if you look at the cumulative valuation of privacy coins right now, it's a tiny fraction of that. I mean, the total market cap of every single privacy coin is probably maybe like 50 billion if I'm being like super conservative,
Right.
And or super generous. And so they have a long way to go. Oracle coins.
I mean, that's basically what you just said is the total market cap of privacy coins could be 3 times the current crypto market cap. That's pretty bullish.
At bare minimum. Yeah.
That's pretty bullish.
Yeah. And so And then Oracle coins, I think Oracle's one of the things they're going to help do is these are, in large part location type beacons that are physical devices situated in the real world that help blockchains interact with actual things in the real world. So an example is you might have a sticker that has a tracking device on it that you can attach to every Amazon package for a low price. Then the consumer can not only track like, hey, that package went to my post office in Arizona, and then it's going to the other post office in Arizona, and then it's coming to my doorstep tomorrow. You can actually see that package on a map in real time, okay, if we have good Oracle devices and things that kind of connect the blockchain to the GPS system. And so I think the use cases for those are really high. And so I think those sorts of location beacons and oracles which relay information are going to be really big. That's a very complex problem, but it's going to be big when it comes about, I think. The last category I did decentralized exchanges, did privacy, did oracles, security tokens. Yeah. These I actually don't know too much about other than they're basically securities that have token-like properties in terms of partial ownership rights, verification of ownership, things like that. So I think these are almost like a better version of a stock or a bond. And I could be very wrong on that because I need to do more reading on these, but I think those are going to be big based on what everybody says.
Well, as I understand it, it's kind of like a security. It kind of allows people to buy pieces of real world assets, right? So, for example, a bridge or a building or a piece of art, and you can buy parts of it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I understand some securities tokens, at least. I don't know if that could be way off too, but as opposed to what a utility token would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing that I have to explore more. But everyone says they're going to be big. So I don't know. I feel like I got to at least check it out.
So I think we kind of already touched on one of my next questions, just about kind of the irrationality of the market and things like that. So, and kind of where the bottom would be. What's the Bitcoin price, right? What would it have to be right now for you to say, all right, that's it, I'm all in. I'm pushing all in.
I think if we got to the low 2s or the high 1,000 mark, I think at that point I'd feel pretty confident putting almost everything in that. But maybe there is no point though, because I think if Bitcoin survives and does well over enough time, I think certain alts will do the same.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to think about, okay, what's the price? And it's because you see this on Twitter. It's like, all right, what's the price that everybody's going to be like, okay, this is the bottom, and that's kind of your rational price of what Bitcoin is, and then it goes to, okay, what's the top? Where am I? What's the highest price I would ever buy Bitcoin at? And then you kind of have to. It's somewhere in between there. Maybe what who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't know if there is like a highest price ever, because the thing is, like, we've talked to people who were involved in like 2011, 2012, and they would say to us, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea Bitcoin would ever hit 1,300 or 2,000. Like, we thought that was completely insane. So that's what we think of like 50,000 and 100,000 like right now. We're like, oh yeah, those are cool numbers, but it'll never hit that. And maybe it will, So I think momentum kind of builds upon itself until it finally fizzles out. So if it breaks 20,000, that's a bullish sign that it could go to 30, it could go to 40, it could go to 50. And so I don't know if there's really a highest price, because I think almost the higher price it goes, the more people think, oh, it might go to an equally ludicrous price.
Right.
So
yeah, that answer plays right in line with your momentum answer from earlier. So you got some consistency there.
Try.
Yeah, there you go. And another thing I just remembered when you were talking about the decentralized exchanges. So, we see a ton of them popping up, and, some of them have really nice volume like IDEX, and then some of them are still, really trying to bring that volume in. How many of these do you think are potentially viable? How many do we need? You know what I mean?
It's hard. Yeah. I think there are probably more than we need right now, but if we have the ones we currently do, then they will be needed within 4 to 5 years when the volume really picks up, because the space feels bigger to all of us because we've been in it for a little bit,
Sure.
but it's still really, really small, And so how many do we need? I don't know. That's so tough. I mean, at a certain point, volume begets more volume. I don't know if that
Right.
makes
So
sense.
the
but
bigger
volume-
exchanges are going to get bigger. It's just kind of like what you see with
Yeah.
Binance, and when
Yeah.
or how like Bittrex all of a sudden kind of became a
And
graveyard.
the reason is because they're the most favorable to trade in. So yeah, people get the smallest spreads and then they go, oh, this is the best exchange to their friends, and their friends join and they go to their friends and they go, oh, this is the best exchange, and it builds upon itself. So it's sort of like an exponential
Here,
thing.
use my ref link.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you look at like stock markets or equity markets, I mean, it's like one market basically. Like you don't go to like, I mean, you might log into E-Trade or Schwab or something, but you're trading the same market if you're buying Facebook. You're not buying just on E-Trade's book or just Schwab's
Right.
book. And so maybe this stuff centralizes over time. And I don't know. I mean, in corporations, these smaller corporations get bought out. They don't just disappear. They kind of become one with the bigger ones. So if that happens in crypto, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think, this kind of leads into my next question about, so a consensus this year, we saw a couple talks about introducing more stable coins. So obviously, the big one we have right now is Tether. And so these would be, I guess, competing stable coins against Tether with competing ones in the market. And if there's going to be a couple of these, doesn't that, in my opinion, that's going to be... If there's no demand for these, how many, like multiple of them, how are they going to hold their value and be stable?
You know what, dude? This is another thing I have to look into more. I don't really know. I mean, I know they have mechanisms within themselves a lot of the time to control supply and demand and try to mimic a stable price. But I don't really know how needed a certain number of them are. I mean, I think, why can't it just be
That's
one?
kind of my
whether it be
that's kind of my
Tether
point,
or a better
right?
version?
It's like obviously Tether
Yeah.
has obvious issues, right? So I think people are trying to be the better Tether, but do we need 5 better Tethers or do we need one? You know what I mean?
I mean, probably not. Yeah, it'll be like a competition until it's finally decided, like, okay, this is the best one, and everyone will flock to that. And I think we're early, if that is a competition, in that competition. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't think we need that many. Maybe a couple, and I don't really see why you would buy it other than like as an alternative to parking it in dollars.
Right.
So
Especially now you see more and more of these exchanges, coming out with fiat pairings and things like that. And I think you're going to keep seeing that. And, obviously Bittrex is now right now just for accredited investors, but eventually that'll probably change. So, I'm not sure what I think of those and if we need more than one. I'm not a big Tether guy anyway, just because I don't see any. I would rather change to fiat if I could, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my last couple questions are just kind of fun ones. I have the 2 of the 3 of the Holy Triumvirate of the Crypto Street podcast follow me on Twitter, except for Crypto Dale. So my next question was, when Crypto Dale follow?
Dale.
And then my last... Come on, Dale.
Get it together, bro. Bunch you best. He's in the pod, for Christ's sake. God.
That's right. And then I wanted to know what kind of cufflinks Prince had bought already from cufflinks.com.
Prince bought cufflinks from cufflinks.com from every single NHL hockey team and a few Canadian ones as well. And he cycles them every day throughout the course of the month, wears a different one every day because he wears the suit every day, of course. And he's a big fan. So cufflinks.com, Crypto Street for 20% off. I think it's Crypto Street. I hope it is. Our campaign ended, but yeah, if it's not Crypto Street, look at our past episodes and find out what the right discount code is, because we want that credit.
It might have been crypto. It might have been Crypto 20.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Actually, yeah, Crypto 20. Everybody, cufflinks.com, really good website actually though. Yeah, and Prince has bought some stuff from them. So it's funny, the whole like advertising bit where Prince is like, "Oh guys, we got this concert or this conference, and I don't know what to wear." It's like real. Like he didn't know what to wear.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. But yeah, you guys are going to be at that conference in August.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You got big things planned or what? I think I'm actually going to be there with some whale report stuff. So that'll be fun.
Awesome, bro. Yeah. The very first night we get in, I think, is like a Friday. We're planning on just drinking and partying that night. So definitely join us. We'll have a good time.
So I'll make sure I'm there on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we present on Saturday. So Friday will be like the real good time. Although we can't get like, our presentation's at like 11 or 12 on Saturday. So we can't get too saucy, but we're probably going to be presenting.
How long's the presentation? How long you guys?
I think like an hour. It's just like a live podcast.
Oh, that's cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll almost certainly be hungover for it, but we're gonna power through for sure.
Will it be? Do you know if it's streamed?
I don't know, actually. Maybe. I'm not sure.
That's cool. Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Anyway, I think that about wraps it up, dude. Thank you very much. Amazing noob guest. Very good. I'm glad we powered through without the other two musketeers. But thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, man. I just want to say, I really appreciate it. Bunch of bets on Twitter, and if you have any rare Pepe cards, you can come buy all mine too. Because when in a bear market, that's literally all I've been doing is making soup for Crypto Soup Group and trading rare Pepe cards. They have actually held better value than my bags. So, come buy my Pepe cards.
Awesome. Words of wisdom, everybody. Say thank you to our guest on Twitter. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. We appreciate having you on, bro. Have a great weekend, everybody. You'll probably hear this on Thursday or Friday. So take care. We'll talk to you next week.
Tip your waitress.